I am back. What it do, baby?
G5 Jeff TV. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button as you come on in. Big shout out to the family, my guy Fats, Classic Apparel, my guy Matt, and the We All From brand. Those are the sponsors of the channel. All the information is in the description box, and follow your boy on Instagram and Twitter at BoxingFirst Now, this is a breaking news, exclusive, light heavyweight from out of Philly, protege of the great Bernard Hopkins. Jesse Hart got surgery on his hand this past Friday, and it was a success. His recovery time is looking around 3 to 6 months, more towards the 6 months than the 3. And if anybody that knows boxing, whenever you're recovering from a hand injury, shoulder injury, anything like that, more than likely you're probably going to take a tune-up fight just to make sure everything working correctly and all that. Okay, so you probably won't see Jesse Hart in a significant fight probably for the next 12 months or so. Okay, but big shout out to Jesse Hart and finally getting that surgery done. It got pushed back a couple of times because of the whole coronavirus situation, but I'm mentioning all of that to get to something bigger. Okay, now we all know Jesse Hart had a huge fight with Joe Smith Jr. on January 11th of this year. Now, Joe Smith Jr. won that fight, and I thought he won it pretty clearly. Okay? Now, before I get down to the real details of this video, there's a couple of things that I want to put out there so people won't question me and my credibility when it comes down to this situation. Number one, I cover the sport of boxing, and I am from Philly, the same city as Jesse Hart. Number two, I am in contact with Jesse Hart on a regular basis. Number three, I'm a fan of Jesse Hart, not only as a fighter, but as a man. And I'm also a fan of Joe Smith Jr. as a fighter and everything that he brings to the table as well. Okay? And number four, I promoted that fight heavy on my channel, and I was at that fight between Jesse Hart and Joe Smith Jr. on January 11th. So I wanted to get those things out of the way. Also, for people to think that I'm just going to be biased towards Jesse Hart, that is not the case. Even though Jesse Hart and I are cool, when it comes down to talking boxing, we talking boxing. I have a video on the channel, and I'm actually going to put the link in the description box so you guys can see it. I put up a video after the Jesse Hart Joe Smith fight, and I came at the neck of the judge that gave the fight to Jesse Hart 95-94. Jesse Hart from the city, that's my guy, but I called out that judge for giving that fight to Jesse Hart 95-94. Anybody that watched that fight to know anything about boxing, they will tell you that Jesse Hart did not do enough offensively to win that fight. I gave Jesse Hart no more than 3 rounds. Off the top of my head, I gave him no more than 3 rounds. Okay? Now, that should kill all the noise as far as me being biased towards Jesse Hart. Okay? Now, this is what I really want to get into. Now, this is the exclusive. And people that know me already know this. And people that has any type of insight in terms of Philly boxing knows this as well. So this is not an exclusive to people in Philly, but people outside of Philly, this will be an exclusive. Jesse Hart injured his hand before the fight with Joe Smith. Like, it's just facts. Like, he injured his hand prior to the Joe Smith fight. Okay? He injured it right before the fight. Like, it wasn't that long before the actual date of the fight when he injured his hand. Now, it was too late for him to back out. It was too late for him to, reschedule it. It was too much invested in the fight, venue, everything else. Okay? I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'll let Jesse Hart do it if he decides to do so. But I know when he messed his hand up. I know where he was when he messed his hand up. And ironically, I talked to him right after he messed his hand up. You understand what I'm saying? So Jesse Hart did have a damaged hand going into the fight with Joe Smith. Okay, I want to get that out there and get that very, very clear. And like I said, people in Philly, they can confirm what I'm saying. They know when he messed his hand up. They know how he messed his hand up. You understand what I'm saying? Now, with that being said, none of that is Joe Smith's fault. None of that is Joe Smith Jr.'s fault. And at the end of the day, he got the victory. He did what he was supposed to do in a situation like that. He kept his head down and he just fought his fight. You know what I'm saying? So me dishing off this information about Jesse Hart should not diminish what Joe Smith did that particular night. He strapped up his boots, strapped up his gloves just like Jesse Hart did, and he went to work. That's exactly what he did. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to Joe Smith Jr. This is not anything against Joe Smith Jr. trying to discredit Joe Smith Jr.'s victory. What I'm doing is I'm actually bringing this up to bring up a bigger issue, a bigger topic, a bigger point. Okay? Now, with Jesse Hart going into that fight, whole lot of talk. This was revenge for when Joe Smith knocked Bernard Hopkins out the ring, basically put him in retirement. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk from Jesse Hart. And when you watch the fight against Joe Smith Jr., what he did in the ring didn't match the talk. This is the issue that I want to get into. A lot of people had a lot of things to say about Jesse Hart after the fight. Okay? A lot of people. Prominent people as well. Andre Ward had some things to say. Tim Bradley had some things to say. Some other boxers and just media people, fans, had a lot of things to say about Jesse Hart. They basically were saying he ran, he did all this talking, didn't back it up, fought like a punk, all this and all. You heard all types of stuff. Okay? Now, what I want to get into is how cruel boxing can be. Boxing can be extremely cruel. As a boxer, they have probably one of the most difficult occupations in the world. Okay? Because when you step into the ring, people don't care if you're 100% or 20%. People don't care if you have some mental issues, emotional issues, physical nicks and bruises from the camp, anything like that. When you step in that ring, they want you to perform like you're 100% every single time, and your every move and your every mistake is going to be scrutinized. And that's what happened with Jesse Hart. That's what happened with him, period. And Tim Bradley, he came out and said, Jesse Hart really didn't have a lot of technical skills and things like that. And people literally thought Jesse Hart was running. Here's the issue, okay? Here's the issue, and this is just the truth, period. You have to be elite. You have to be special to overcome a hand injury or some type of arm or shoulder injury during the course of a fight. Like, that's just, anybody that knows boxing, you know that. Like, you know that. To overcome a hand injury, arm or shoulder injury during the course of a fight, you have to be special. You have to be special, okay, to overcome that. Is Jesse Hart a good fighter? Yes, he's a good fighter. Is he special, like top 10 all-time special? No, he's not top 10 all-time special. But that's the type of people that can overcome that, okay? Floyd Mayweather had plenty of fights where he had hand issues. He came out and he won. Andre Ward fought part of his career and his shoulder wasn't 100% right, but he still found ways to win. Jesse Hart went into a fight with a bad hand. And to be honest with you, he lasted the whole 10 rounds, and people has really questioned Jesse Hart. Now, when you watch that fight, you can come up with one or two things. Number one, you can watch that fight and you can say, okay, Jesse Hart didn't back up his talk. He did a lot of running. He didn't do a whole lot of fighting. Or, number two, you could say Jesse Hart moved around the ring. He tried to box. He did a whole bunch of talking and he didn't back it up. But that's not like Jesse Hart. That's not the Jesse Hart that I know. What's wrong? You had a choice of doing one of those two things. Now, if you are a hardcore boxing fan, you're a purist, you know what goes on inside the sport of boxing, you're going to think, okay, that wasn't Jesse Hart. Like, he had an off night. What was going on with Jesse Hart? You didn't get a lot of people that were saying that. You didn't get a lot of people that were saying that. I can understand if Jesse Hart went into the ring, first fight at 175, and he's looking across the ring and it's a stone cold killer. Joe Smith Jr. is a good fighter, but he's not no stone cold killer. Like, for the way Jesse Hart was fighting, the way he was fighting that night. Joe Smith Jr. is not a stone cold killer. He's a powerful puncher, yes he is, but he's not no stone cold killer. It is what it is. You understand what I'm saying? So when I looked at the fight, I was like, all right, Jesse Hart, his biggest critics, all of them would say he has the skills, he has the athleticism, he has the technical ability, but he doesn't use it enough because he decides to go in there and just fight. Like, that's Jesse Hart's reputation. Like, he's Philly, like, through and through. Like, he just goes in there sometimes and he just throws the playbook out the window and he just goes to war. And that's what people criticize him about. So for him to have that reputation, and then you turn around and you watch the Joe Smith fight, and you don't give Jesse Hart the benefit of the doubt, like, yo, that's not Jesse Hart. Like, what's going on with him? For people not to give him that benefit of the doubt, either A, you don't know boxing that well, B, you don't know Jesse Hart that well, or C, you know Jesse Hart that well, you just didn't care and you just wanted to criticize. It's one of the three. Like, it's one of the three. For someone to have a warrior reputation like Jesse Hart, and to see him fight the way he fought against Joe Smith Jr., like, in the back of your mind, you got to be thinking, like, yo, like, something's not right. And his hand wasn't right. His hand wasn't right. And that's just what it is. Now, I know people paid money to see that fight. I know people bought tickets to be in the building, hotels, and all of that. So some people is just not trying to hear that, even though they know deep down that's, that wasn't Jesse Hart for real. Some people just not trying to hear it because they spent their money. I understand that 100%. Joe Smith ain't trying to hear that. He like, man, I'm going to try to take Jesse Hart head off regardless. You know what I'm saying? Whether his hand hurt or not. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is Jesse Hart fought the way he did on January 11th because he had one hand. He had one hand, and very few boxers in history would be able to overcome a major hand injury in a boxing match. It is what it is. But Joe Smith Jr. got the victory. He has a title eliminator coming up against Eleider Alvarez, and he deserves it. He deserves it 100%. He deserves it 100%. You know what I'm saying? Everything that I'm reporting in this video is no knock against Joe Smith Jr. Period. Like, he is a good fighter. He is a good fighter, period. Now, going forward, of course, Jesse Hart wants a rematch with Joe Smith Jr. Sometimes in the sport of boxing, you don't get a chance to right all of your wrongs. So it's not a guarantee Jesse Hart is going to get a rematch with Joe Smith Jr. To be honest with you, it's probably unlikely. I hope he gets it, because at the end of the day, I know that he had a hand injury going into that fight. But to be honest, it's going to be hard to sell that fight unless there's a title on the line, or Jesse Hart goes on a nice win streak, 2-3 fights, and he looks good in those fights, and then, you know, go revisit that situation, and then more people will be interested in that fight. But the first fight, it just didn't go well, so the odds are stacked against Jesse Hart to get the rematch with Joe Smith Jr. And Joe Smith Jr., he's holding all the cards right now. He's holding all the cards right now. It is what it is. But this situation just goes to show that when a boxer steps into the ring, a boxer may not be 100% physically, mentally, emotionally. That was the case for Jesse Hart. And the thing is, that could have been the case for Joe Smith Jr. as well. That could have been the case for Joe Smith Jr. as well. More than likely, he probably wasn't 100% going into that fight. 9 out of 10 times, a fighter is not 100% going into a fight. I want to make that perfectly clear. Perfectly clear. Okay? The situation, it was what it was in regards to Jesse Hart. Like he said plenty of times, he's not making excuses. That's just what it was. But just, I'm here, G5 Jeff TV, to tell you guys that Jesse Hart hand was injured prior to the Joe Smith fight, and he just didn't put it together on January 11th to get the victory. But a lot of it had to do with his hand, and who knows, like, Joe Smith might have won the fight anyway. Joe Smith might have won the fight anyway. Who knows? We don't know, and we may never find out. It may always be a question. But just when a person has a warrior reputation like Jesse Hart, and you see Jesse Hart fight the way he did on January 11th, you got two choices. You could either just come out and say that he didn't back up his talk and he ran, or you can be honest with yourself and say, you know what, Jesse Hart is a warrior. Like, he'll go to war with anybody. For him to fight the way he fought, something had to have been wrong. And I'm on the side of there was something wrong with Jesse Hart that night. But it was his hand at the end of the day. Joe Smith got the victory. Big shout out to Joe Smith Jr. Big shout out to my guy Jesse Hart for having successful surgery. Hopefully he comes back stronger than ever and continues a successful career. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. G5 Jeff TV. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Please share this video. Support your boy. Support good content at all times. I appreciate y'all. Peace.